Chapter 61. Bloodline Evolution. 6. Winged Archangel. Divine Lord. Lucky Little Lori. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter. Bloodline Evolution. 6. Winged Archangel. Divine Lord. Lucky Little Lori. However, this was the Lord's hope for them. They naturally had to target the angels. Whether or not they could succeed, they had to work hard. He was free. Lin Yi collected and decomposed all the corpses of the monsters in the yard. One afternoon, the angel battle team had hunted about 200 wild monsters. He harvested 2,700 units of food, and the monster had a few ingredients. Lin Yi did not put all the food into the super space trading channel for sale. Only 1,200 units were sold. The remaining 1,500 units of food belonged to Zhong Yao. Of the underground world. In exchange, she collected and forged the refined iron. It's about time. Lin Yi looked at the world chat channel. There were already a large number of castle lords. Reminding him that it was still half an hour before 8 o'clock, and the equipment could be sold. The 900 sets that Lin Yi had sold in the morning were not enough to satisfy their appetite. Not to mention 900 sets, the castle lords would quickly digest even 900 million sets of equipment. Unfortunately, the equipment was hard to explode. Only Lin Yi had a large amount of equipment to sell. They were extremely eager to become lucky and snatch the equipment. Even if they only managed to snatch a small part of it. Because the novice protection period was only a few hours away. The beast tide was about to attack. The wild monsters wandering around their castle at night were enough to force them to do everything they could to increase the strength of their warriors. Their strength could not increase. They could not deal with the berserk monsters outside the castle. They might not even be able to make it tonight, let alone the beast tide. There was no need to doubt this. The cruel test of survival was sweeping over. Lin Yi speculated that there would be the castle lords who would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. This was the survival of the fittest. Some weak castle lords were destined to be eliminated. Lin Yi did not think too much. He opened his friends list and contacted Zhong Yao, who was in the underground world. In the underground world there was a lonely gray castle in a dark space. Inside and outside the castle, a large number of short figures gathered. They were the dwarves. This was Zhong Yao's kingdom of grey dwarfs. Zhong Yao with a grey face was standing on the balcony of the 3rd floor of the castle. She waved her hand and commanded the grey dwarves to throw the iron ore they had collected today into the smelting furnace, to forge refined iron. On the east side of the castle courtyard, there was a refining shop. 20 dwarves blacksmiths were forging equipment inside. From time to time, 2 dwarves would carry a large wooden box and walk out of the crafting shop. Inside the wooden box, everything was made into standard equipment. There were many types of defensive leather armor, simple iron armor, offensive sabers, mace, and so on. However, these were just ordinary equipment. And most of them were low-ranked equipment. A few types of refined equipment that had reached middle rank. There was no high-ranked equipment. As for more powerful magic equipment, they needed blueprints to be created. But even if it was just ordinary low and medium-ranked equipment, it was still precious to the current castle lord. After all, many of the castle lord's humanoid soldiers were still unarmed. They had a wooden stick, a wooden spear, a handmade wooden arrow, and so on. If there was no refining shop, there was no way to create standard equipment like iron. That was why Lin Yi's equipment was so popular. The 900 sets of hardcover equipment in the morning, he was robbed in just a few seconds. Everyone, come on. Work hard. Zhong Yao's clear and tender voice sounded in the dark underground world. It did not have the power to inspire people, but the dwarves in the grey earth inside the castle heard it and their blood boiled. They worked harder and harder. At this moment, a large number of shadows appeared outside the castle. Zhong Yao shrunk her neck in fear. The underground world was more dangerous and cruel than the surface world. Because it was filled with all kinds of darkness and evil creatures, she saw a large number of shadows marching in the distance 2 days ago, and finally disappeared into the darkness. There was also the infamous human-faced arachnid, dark elf, cyclops, and so on. These dark races were not only brutal and bloodthirsty but also powerful. If their eyes were on her castle, the weak dwarves could not resist. Fortunately, those shadows were not enemies. Uncle Xavier. Zhong Yao saw the leader of the group and ran down the castle happily. He was a middle-aged gray dwarf. He was only about 1 meter tall, but he was strong and steady. He had an exaggeratedly large iron sword on his back. His every step seemed to shake the earth. Behind him, there were hundreds of dwarves, each of the elite warriors. Queen Zhong Yao. A benevolent smile appeared on the face of Xavier the Grey Earth Dwarf. He was the sky swordsman of the Grey Earth Dwarves who had taken the initiative to join the Grey Dwarves' castle. Now, he fulfilled his promise. He brought more than 100 elite dwarves to help Zhong Yao protect the castle. Congratulations, Castle Lord. 130.5 dwarf warriors from the Grey Earth have chosen to join you. Do you want to accept them? Yes, no, Zhong Yao immediately chose. The dwarf Xavier led the dwarves into the castle. Queen Zhong Yao. The dwarves also bowed respectfully to Zhong Yao. Their loyalty reached around 90 points. This was unbelievable. Most of the castle lords, the soldiers they recruited, did not have such high loyalty, let alone the local intelligent creatures. It could only mean that Zhong Yao's charm was too high. It could directly affect the loyalty of her soldiers. Hello everyone. Zhong Yao said excitedly, Uncle Xavier, you've brought so many warriors, now you can finally stop worrying about the beast tide. Don't worry, Your Highness. With us, the dwarves, no monster can destroy your castle. The Grey Earth Dwarves are sworn to protect the Grey Dwarves' castle. Zhong Yao quickly nodded. But, Xavier hesitated. Your Highness, we don't have enough food. Zhong Yao hurriedly said, I will contact Lin Yi immediately. We have more than 5,000 units of refined iron, so we can exchange it with Lin Yi for a large amount of food. Praise the Queen. Xavier heaved a sigh of relief. The Grey Earth Dwarves might be small, but they ate a lot. This was especially the case for the dwarves. They needed plenty of food to ensure that the battle would not be affected. As for the Lin Yi in Zhong Yao's mouth, Xavier also knew. He heard the Queen talk about Lin Yi many times. He was a legendary castle lord. He was at the peak of the billions of castle lords. He was looking forward to seeing Lin Yi in the future and admiring the elegant demeanor of a legendary figure. Lin Yi contacted me. Zhong Yao opened the friend list. He happened to see a message from Lin Yi asking her about the refinement of iron and equipment. She quickly replied after some exchanges. Zhong Yao put all the fine iron stored in the castle on the super space trading channel, with high-ranked armor suitable for Lin Yi. The designated replacement was Lin Yi. Soon, the swap was successful. A large quantity of food appeared out of thin air in the warehouse of the Grey Dwarf Castle. Uncle Xavier. Lin Yi greatly gave me 1,500 units of food. Praise the legendary lord of the castle. Xavier smiled and nodded. This batch of food was enough to solve the current food crisis of the Grey Dwarf Castle. 10 minutes left. Lin Yi greatly let Zhong Yao put the equipment in the trading area. Low-ranked equipment and medium-ranked equipment need to be separated. 1 set for every 10 sets. Purchase wood and stones. High-end equipment will be sold separately, and only fine iron will be purchased, I see. Zhou Miao hurriedly ordered the grey dwarves to carry all their equipment. Separate categories and sets of combinations. Soon it was 8 o'clock. She put all her gear on the Super Space Trading Channel. In total, there are about 2,300 sets of medium and low-grade equipment. Divided into 230 parts, in addition, there are 9 sets of high-grade equipment, which are made from the materials of the 8th rank Earth Dragon. High-end equipment was sold by auction in exchange for fine iron. The auction lasts 3 hours. The highest bidder gets it. Equipment holder, Lin Yi's Big Little Follow. 8.00, World Chat Channel Instant Boiling. Chapter 62. Boiling. Crazy Rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World Announcement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Boiling. Crazy Rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World Announcement. World Chat Channel. It was bustling. This could be considered the last celebration during the novice protection period. After midnight, the novice period ended, and the protective cover disappeared. The situation of the castle lords would no longer be as peaceful and harmonious as it was now. It brought danger to the castle lord. It was not just the wild monsters and the local forces of the endless continent. There were other castle lords. After all, this was another world. Only the strongest castle lords had the right to stand at the top of all races. The battle between the castle lords would also begin with the disappearance of the protective barrier. For example, Lin Yi. He had already set his sights on a castle about 8 kilometers away from Angel Castle. The castle lord had tried to capture the little angel under Lin Yi's command. He had even tried to lure the other castle lords in the dark forest to kill the angel and destroy the divine armor in the chat. For Lin Yi, this was the enemy's castle. If the castle had not disappeared during the beast tide, he would choose to attack personally. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of revealing the secret of the angel army. He only cared about the enemies who cleared the way ahead. He also warned the other castle lords not to provoke his angel team. 8 o'clock. Lin Yi, hurry up and equip yourself. Crap. I'm coming. A lot of equipment. All of them were brand new standard equipment, made by the Grey Earth dwarves. They were considered excellent among the equipment of the same rank. There must be at least a few thousand of them, right? All sets, a total of 2,300 sets. As expected of the big boss, Lin Yi. Hurry up and snatch it. First come, first served, buying was earning money. Shit. You guys should slow down. I'll just take one and disappear. Can you give me a chance? Ha. I got one of them, 10 sets of equipment. I also got a share. I can relax now. With these equipment sets, my great swordsmen could be able to increase their strength and withstand the beast tide. I'm crying. The message indicated that I did not have enough resources. Lin Yi is too black-hearted, and his equipment is extremely expensive. We, the castle lords at the bottom, cannot afford it. Big brother Lin Yi is not called a black-hearted businessman for anything. Scram. The rarer the item, the more expensive it was. Even if the price was 3 times higher, there were still people who wanted it. Boss Lin Yi was already generous enough. No matter what the World Chat channel was like. The trading area beside them was extremely heated. Countless castle lords squeezed into the trading channel and frantically snapped up the equipment on the shelves. It confirmed that sentence. Buying it was a profit. It was impossible to lose money. Moreover, this batch of equipment directly affected the upcoming beast tide, which was related to their lives. How could they not be crazy? Unfortunately, there were simply too many castle lords who were buying equipment. At least tens of millions of castle lords that were fighting over it. Some of them were top-ranked castle lords, and their humanoid soldiers also needed equipment. 2,000 sets of equipment, 230 small pieces. It was not enough for them to snatch it. In just a few seconds, all the equipment on the shelves was sold out. Piece by piece was killed. The castle lords who had stolen the equipment was an old chauffeur who had been single for decades. At the same time, they were extremely lucky. As for the castle lords who didn't get the equipment, they could only blame themselves for being too slow. Some people vented their dissatisfaction in the chat. Is this the end? It will be over in a few seconds. Too little equipment. In vain that I looked forward to it, but in the end, it was only this little. Who was he bluffing about? I lost my mind. Just a few days as a beginner, how much equipment could he create? Who else could sell more than 2,000 sets of equipment? Up until now, the equipment sold by the boss has already reached 4,000 sets. Only boss Lin Yi has such a plan. Wait, I just realized that the person who seems to be selling the equipment is not boss Lin Yi. Equipment holder Lin Yi's big followers, who is this person? The account of Lord Lin Yi. Shit. They thought this was a game, and there was a side account. This little follower must not be boss Lin Yi, but someone else. Her branch was a gray earth dwarf, and she had dropped blueprints for a crafting shop, so she could craft equipment. The little attendant and Lin Yi are working together. Envy. I also want to work with Lin Yi. Many people are adding Lin Yi's friends. Many people sent friend requests to zhongyao.in the underground world. The castle lords who had a top-rank soldier type were among them. At this stage, there was only Zhong Yao who seemed to be able to create standard equipment. All the top-ranked castle lords wanted to cooperate with her. With that, they would have their equipment. At the same time, there would be a discount on the price so that Lin Yi wouldn't pit them. Lin Yi earned a lot of resources from the equipment sale. Lin Yi was the target of all the top-ranked castle lords, so they naturally did not want to become enemies. However, the friend requests they sent were all rejected by Zhong Yao. Zhong Yao knew very well who the most reliable one was. Even if they were willing to pay a high price for her equipment, she did not agree. Zhong Yao was young, so they were trying to trick her. But Zhong Yao was determined. She wanted to continue on the little follower's path. That was why she closed her friend list. She happily began to count the resources in the warehouse. About 2,300 sets of standard equipment were sold out in a few seconds in exchange for a huge amount of supplies. Oh, the wood harvest is 187,500 units. The stone harvest is 114,900 units. A bumper harvest. Lin Yi will be very happy. Zhong Yao was very happy. 60% of these resources belonged to Lin Yi, and 40% belonged to her. After the bonus, Lin Yi's castle could be able to become a town. Thinking of this, Zhong Yao hurriedly contacted Lin Yi. She told Lin Yi what she had gained from selling the equipment. Soon, she received Lin Yi's reply. After exchanging a few words, Zhong Yao immediately put all the 60% of the resources she had obtained into the trading area. She designated Lin Yi as the buyer, and the price was 1 unit of food. There's still a high-ranked equipment auction left. Zhong Yao looked at the trading area. Below the high-rank equipment, the high-rank iron value made Zhong Yao narrow her eyes. Angel Castle. You have lost 1 unit of food. You have harvested 113,000 units of wood and 69,000 units of stone. Lin Yi took a deep breath. This could be considered a bumper harvest. What he had paid was just some monster materials, but he had received a huge amount of resources to rank up his castle, benevolent. As expected, the equipment was the most profitable. In terms of standard equipment, he and Zhong Yao monopolized the entire industry. This was because only by owning a building, crafting shop, one could create equipment. Before the crafting shop was flooded with blueprints, he and Zhongyao could continue to earn money. Lin Yi glanced at the trading area. 900 sets of hardcover food for lunch and 1,000 units of food for the evening. All of them were already sold. The equipment was the most in demand and sold the fastest. Even if Lin Yi did not release the sales information in advance, it would only take less than half a minute for the 900 sets of equipment to be sold out. On the other hand, the food on the shelves sold very slowly. The reason was simple. There were too many castle lords selling food, and the number of castle lords who needed food was rapidly decreasing. Of course, the food was a daily necessity. No matter when it would not be outdated. As long as he hung it up, someone would buy it. Lin Yi's food sold the best due to the influence of his fame as compared to the other castle lords who sold food. Chapter 63. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 63. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight, rank up to the town. World announcement. Chapter 6. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. 900 sets of hardcover equipment, 1,000 units of food. A total of 93,800 units of wood and 52,600 units of stone were harvested. In addition to the wood and stones stored in the castle warehouse, in total, there are 336,900 units of wood and 173,640 units of stone available. He got rich overnight. Lin Yi smiled. He was the richest man among the billions of castle lords. To rank up Angel Castle to Angel Town, I'd only need 100,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of stone, and 10,000 units of iron. In terms of wood and stone, the resources I have stored far exceed the requirements. Now, I'll just wait for the iron to arrive. Lin Yi looked at the castle warehouse. In addition to the 5,000 plus units of refined iron that Zhongyao had given him, his current reserve of refined iron was 7,200 units. In other words, with another 2,800 units of refined iron, Angel Castle could be ranked up immediately. If the quantity of refined iron reached 0.15000 units, the high-ranked, Holy Temple could also be built. The little angels under him would increase their attack and defense by 10%. This was very strong. In the future when his angel team advances into the angel army, the effect of this halo will be even more terrifying. The larger the size of the angel battle team, the more obvious the function of the Holy Temple would be. It was a divine ranked building. Even if it was a divine artifact, its practical value could not compare to the sacred palace. This is high rank equipment. Top castle lords, how can they not be a bit crazy? Lin Yi looked at the Hot World trading channel. In addition to the 9 sets of high ranked equipment that Zhongyao had taken, he had also taken 5 sets of high ranked equipment himself, which was the entire harvest from attacking the goblin tribe. 14 sets of high-ranked equipment. The iron value under each set of equipment was rapidly increasing. Almost every 2 seconds, the value would jump up. This meant that many castle lords were bidding for this high-ranked equipment. 2 days ago, when Lin Yi announced that he was going to auction high-ranked equipment, the top castle lords who coveted high-ranked equipment were madly purchasing refined iron and wanted to obtain high-ranked equipment to improve their strength. The castle protective cover was about to disappear. The beast tide could come at any time. The top castle lords who cherished their lives did not want to die in the beast tide. High-ranked equipment could greatly ensure their safety. Although the top castle lords understood that this was their goal of funding them to surpass and continue to widen the gap between them and Lin Yi, they could only grit their teeth and bid. After all, high-ranked equipment was related to their lives, and even to the score of the beast tide. And the number of high-ranked equipment was so small. There were only 14 sets. If they would not buy it, others would buy it. If someone else snatched it, they would have the advantage. At that time, even the top-ranked castle lords could not defeat him. How to fight for supremacy? There were clouds in the ancient language. They were lagging in the early stages, but if they wanted to catch up, the difficulty would be doubled. The crazier I get, the more I earn. Lin Yi counted the auction value of the 14 high-ranked equipment. If nothing unexpected happened by midnight today, he could not only rank up his castle into a town but he would also build the holy temple. After that, he would go out to deal with the beast tide. The only reward was his target. As the time passed, the castle lords, who were gradually running out of money, withdrew from the high-ranked equipment auction. The frequency at which the iron value increased was decreasing. But he still did not stop. As Lin Yi had expected, those top-ranked castle lords were crazy about obtaining high-ranked equipment. At this stage, iron was still very precious. They needed a very high price to acquire it. However, the top-ranked castle lords did not hesitate to spend a large number of resources, such as wood, stones, and food, fighting for high-ranked equipment. This directly affected the speed at which their castle would rank up. Even if they wanted to catch up to Lin Yi, they could never be able to. However, they had no choice. High-ranked equipment was too attractive, so they could only grit their teeth. As long as I get high-ranked equipment, my safety will be guaranteed. My top-ranked soldier army is extremely strong and can withstand the beast tide. However, my strength was too weak. I am only 4th ranked. If I will die in the beast tide, it would be a huge loss that I need high-ranked equipment to protect myself. With high-ranked equipment, I can get a higher rank in the beast tide. High-ranked equipment is mine, and the only reward is mine too. There is no reward for upgrading the castle, nor is there any increase in stats. It can be postponed, but I must have high-ranked equipment. No one is allowed to snatch high-ranked equipment from me. That was what many top-ranked castle lords thought. It was also the reason why they were frantically bidding. Up until now, each set of equipment had a bid of over 1,000 units of refined iron. There were 2 sets of high-ranked equipment from the Goblin Chief's treasure trove, and the price had reached 1,500 units. The auction was a success. Even if it stopped now, he had gathered all the iron he needed to rank up the Angel Castle and build the Holy Temple. Lin Yi was in a good mood. He turned to look at World Chat channel. Tonight's chat was even more popular as compared to the previous few days. Because after midnight, the castle's protective cover would disappear. No one out of the billions of castle lords was in the mood to sleep. Even Lin Yi could not sleep. He was worried that after the protective barrier disappeared, the berserk monsters outside the castle would charge in. Boss Lin Yi is too crazy. Refined iron is must have to rank up a castle. Moreover, the price of refined iron was ridiculously high. The big shots did not even blink as they desperately bid. The beast tide is about to attack. How could upgrading the castle be more important than upgrading the equipment? Once the auction is over, the price of refined iron will immediately drop. As the castle lords will become more and more powerful, refined iron would become more and more common. In the end, it would become like wood, belonging to ordinary resources. At that time, town-ranked castles will spring up and will appear in large numbers. Looking forward to it. Lin Yi. No matter what you say, I will earn blood tonight. Envy Lord Lin Yi. Why didn't Lin Yi add me as a friend? I have applied many times, but I have been rejected all the time. Do you look down on me? Come out and explain. Who are you? Who are you? Lin Yi directly closed the chat. It was normal for him not to add friends. In the past few days, 20 million to 80 million. Castle lords had added him as a friend every day. If all of them had been added as friends, the information bombardment would have caused his head to explode. Not to mention ordinary castle lords, even those top-ranked castle lords had not been added. For example, Feng Qing, who had a top-ranked golden battle lion, had been rejected by him many times. Up until now, he only had one friend, that was Zhong Yao. It was easy to chat with Zhong Yao. In the underground world. The more friends there were, the more things involved. Lin Yi was a person who did not like the trouble. He liked to use simple and crude methods to solve problems. Soon, the 3-hour auction ended. 14 sets of high-ranked equipment all belonged to him. Be no calm in the castle, Golden City, someone was standing in the sunlight, dressed in simple leather armor, with an outstanding appearance, and an exceptionally beautiful wind, and was looking at the wild monsters gathered outside. She heaved a long sigh of relief. The competition for high-ranked equipment is extremely intense. But in the end, I will still manage to steal it. It's not easy. She took out the high-ranked equipment and put it on her body. A strong sense of security appeared in her heart. With this high-ranked equipment, her safety would be guaranteed. Whether it was clearing out the berserk monsters outside the city or dealing with the monster horde that could come at any moment, it was of great importance. Chapter 64. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 64. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. Chapter 6. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. The only thing that's not enough is that my heart hurts. High-ranked equipment was not magic equipment after all. In the future, it was destined to become a rotten street. And now, to obtain high-ranked equipment, she had consumed a large amount of precious iron, making her feel uncomfortable. The iron was gone. To exchange for refined iron, she did not have any wood or stones left. This directly affected the rank up path of the Golden Castle. It was impossible to rank up the castle into a town in a short period. In terms of the development of the castle, participating in this auction was a bloody loss. Only Lin Yi will benefit. He's the biggest winner. Feng Qing was envious. She guessed that Lin Yi, who had gotten rich overnight, would soon rank up his castle into a town. The gap between Lin Yi and the castle lords was once again widened. There's no other way. As the first person to eat crabs, Lin Yi is the biggest beneficiary. But that doesn't mean that Lin Yi will always be able to eat crabs. The upcoming beast tide is my chance. She looked at the brand new high-ranked equipment on her body. Feng Qing also gradually became confident in catching up to Lin Yi. The other top-ranked castle lords who had obtained high-ranked equipment had similar thoughts as Feng Qing. Now, their safety was guaranteed. They could do their best in the beast tide. All the top-ranked castle lords wanted to obtain the only reward to suppress Lin Yi. To conquer all races was the future goal. At this stage, the most important thing was to surpass the lord of the strongest castle, Lin Yi. In the underground world, Grey Dwarf Castle, Zhong Yao excitedly counted the iron she had obtained. 9 sets of high-ranked equipment, a total of 13,800 units of refined iron. So much iron. My castle needs at least a week to be forged. At the current stage, selling equipment was a huge profit. She could get 40% of the 13,800 units of refined iron, which were 5,520 units of refined iron. Zhong Yao suddenly hesitated. My castle will be high enough for now. There's no need to prepare to rank it up. To a town. Let's wait until the beast tide is over. Lin Yi has been preparing to rank up to the town. He needs this batch of iron. After thinking for a while, Zhong Yao decided to transfer all the iron she had obtained from the auction to Lin Yi. She was not in a hurry to store the iron. Moreover, her castle itself could forge refined iron. If she wanted refined iron, she could forge it in the future. At this stage, she felt that Lin Yi needed iron more than she did. Thinking of this, she decisively put all the refined iron on the Super Space Trading Channel and designated the buyer as Lin Yi. The purchase price was also 1 unit of food. Lin Yi will be very happy. At this moment, Xavier, the dwarf standing beside her, stared outside the castle and said, Queen, the monsters gathering outside the castle are getting more and more frantic. Outside the Grey Dwarf castle, there were a large number of monsters. Human-faced spiders, skeleton warriors, bloodthirsty black wolves, dark magic rats, and so on. All of them were underground creatures. Zhong Yao was also a little uneasy. The castle's protective shield is about to disappear. Uncle Xavier, will those monsters attack us? Queen Zhong Yao, don't worry. Xavier took off the giant sword on his back and carried it on his shoulder. He said seriously, with the soldiers of the Grey Earth Dwarves, no monsters can invade your castle. Protect the castle, protect Queen Zhong Yao. The dwarves in the castle also held their weapons high in the air. In addition to them, the Grey Dwarf castle also had a defensive fence structure that could withstand the attacks of wild monsters to a certain extent. When Zhong Yao thought about it, her unease gradually dissipated. She nodded happily. Angel Castle. You have lost a set of high-ranked equipment and gained 1,350 units of refined iron. You have lost a set of high-ranked equipment and gained 1,400 units of refined iron. You have lost a set of high-ranked equipment and gained 1,760 units of refined iron. You lost. The moment the auction ended, 5 notifications arrived. The iron reserves in the warehouse of Lin Yi Castle directly increased by more than 10,000. I sold 0.5 sets of high-ranked equipment myself, and collected 7,600 units of refined iron. Zhong Yao's 9 sets of high-ranked equipment, a total of 13,800 units of refined iron. Blood profit. Lin Yi smiled. In the castle's warehouse, the iron reserves had reached 14,800 units. The need to rank up to the town had been met. With another 200 units of refined iron, a high-ranked building Holy Temple could also be built. A real harvest. He was just waiting for Zhong Yao to send over 60% of his iron. Just then, he received a message from Zhong Yao. After opening the friend's information, Lin Yi narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect that the little lorry would forward all the iron from the auction to him. He didn't take 40% of it. This somewhat surprised him. You're not going to rank up to the town. One of the conditions for upgrading the castle to a town was that it required 10,000 units of refined iron. Now that Zhong Yao had transferred all the iron to him, she no longer had the iron. Although the Grey Dwarf castle could forge refined iron, it would take some time to accumulate 10,000 units. He hesitated for a moment. Lin Yi did not decline. Refined iron was an important resource. He needed it, and the more the better. It's part of the deal. Lin Yi was still quite moved. Send the food tomorrow. He already had a deal with Zhong Yao. She traded her iron for the food in his hands. Although Zhong Yao indicated in the message that this batch of iron was given to Lin Yi, he felt that he could not take it for free. What's more, he could easily obtain food. He chatted with Zhong Yao. For a while. Lin Yi smiled. After wishing each other well and passing the night safely, he turned off his friend's information. Then, he exchanged the iron he had bought for her. I have an iron reserve of 28,600 units. Nearly 337,000 units of wood. The stone is close to 174,000 units. Everything is ready. Lin Yi didn't hesitate and activated the castle announcement. Do you want to rank up, Angel Castle? Yes, no, rank up. Suddenly, a dense golden light enveloped his Angel Castle. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. One could only vaguely see that the height of the castle was increasing, and the scale was also increasing. At the same time, the ground was trembling, and the novice protective cover was expanding outwards. The wild monsters gathered outside the castle were forced back. Wild monsters were roaring angrily and were attacking the novice protective cover. Their heads were bleeding, but the protective cover was not damaged. The novice protection period was about an hour away. It was still invincible. Lin Yi also saw that as the protective cover spread, the trees around the castle, the boulders in the mountains, and so on disappeared into thin air. And turned into the flat ground a few minutes later. The mutation ended. Around Angel Castle, an open space with a diameter of about 2 kilometers appeared. His castle was in the center of the space. The surroundings were empty. Other than the Angel Rebirth Pool and the warehouse, there were no other buildings. The castle needs to be built on its own. Lin Yi did not care about this. In the future, there would be more construction blueprints, so there would be more buildings in the territory. Lin Yi looked at his castle. At this moment, the golden light had dissipated, and the castle revealed a completely new look. It had become even more magnificent. It was nearly 40 meters tall, about 13 or 14 floors high. There were 4 sub-fortresses, and an angel statue appeared at the top of each sub-fortress. The exterior of the castle was even more exquisite. It was no longer the low-ranked castle from the beginning. It was as if he had not lived in it for more than 10 years. Now, his castle was really like a noble's creation, magnificent. Angel Castle, current rank. Beginner Town, ordinary building. Warehouse, special building. Angel Rebirth Pool, rank up requirement. 500,000 units of wood, 300,000 units of stone, and 100,000 units of refined iron. Next rank. Intermediate Town, current status. Invincible, current camp. None. Looking at the next, Intermediate Town, rank up requirement. Lin Yi felt a pain in his teeth. This was just upgrading to a mid-rank city. How many resources would it need to rank up to a city, a giant city, a kingdom, or an empire? Just thinking about it made his scalp go numb. Perhaps in the later stages, ordinary materials will be used less. On the contrary, some precious materials will be needed. Lin Yi thought. Chapter 65. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 65. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. Chapter 6. Boiling. Crazy rush. Get rich overnight. Rank up to the town. World announcement. At this moment, the message arrived as expected. Congratulations, Castle Lord. Your Angel Castle has been upranked to a beginner town. Its territory has been increased to 5,000 meters. The defense of the heart of the castle has increased 5-fold. Your Angel Castle's influence and reputation on the Endless Continent has greatly increased. Special Reminder 1. Some forces in the Dark Forest have noticed your castle. Special Reminder 2. The Goblin Kingdom's hatred for you has increased. The range of influence is 5,000 meters. It's almost connected to that person's castle. The castle lord that Lin Yi regarded as the enemy was about 8 kilometers away from him, which was 8,000 meters away. The two people's spheres of influence were about to meet. Under such circumstances, even without the previous friction, the two castle forces would definitely start a war. Therefore, the battle at the castle was inevitable. One could only blame the two of them for getting too close to the castle. The defense of the castle's heart has increased by 5 times. Every time the castle is ranked up, the defense of the castle's heart will double. His influence and reputation have also greatly increased. On the other hand, the Goblin Kingdom's hate value has increased. What does it have to do with the Goblin Kingdom? It seems that the heart of the Goblin Kingdom to die in my castle is very firm. Lin Yi turned to look at the little angels guarding beside him and said, "The Goblin Kingdom wants to destroy our angel castle. Tell me, what should we do? Destroy the Goblin Kingdom. Use divine power to punish them. Tell the goblin to repent under the burning of the angels' holy flame. Destroy their bodies and redeem their souls." The little angels shouted. Even Nina, the angel of love, showed her disgust towards the Goblin Kingdom. The Lord loves the world. The world also respected and believed in the Lord. Violating the Lord's divine will and blaspheming the Lord's majesty was heresy. It needed to be purified. Only through purification could the heretics be saved. Very good. Lin Yi nodded in satisfaction. The Goblin Kingdom's hatred for him was increasing. How could he not want to destroy the Goblin Kingdom? To rule the Dark Forest, war was the only shortcut. The future Dark Forest could only belong to him and his followers. Wait, there is no reward for upgrading a town. Lin Yi suddenly reacted and asked in his mind. Then, he received a response from the notification. There is no special reward for upgrading the castle. Only the world announcement is used to motivate other castle lords to develop their castle forces. Lin Yi immediately retorted. How can we motivate other castle lords without rewards? You have to understand, just because there is no reward for upgrading the castle, many of the top castle lords are delaying upgrading the castle instead of bidding for my high-ranked equipment. The castle lord who will receive an excellent score during the Beast Tide will be rewarded. In short, there was no reward for upgrading the castle. Lin Yi was very unhappy. He felt that he had lost 100 million. He opened World Chat Channel. The world announcement had changed. World announcement. Congratulations to the castle lord, Lin Yi, for being the first to rank up the castle into a town. His influence and reputation in the Endless Continent have greatly increased. He hoped that castle lords would not forget his original intention and continue to work. As soon as possible, he would embark on the path of supremacy between all races and become a god. He would never die. World announcement. Shit. Big Boss Lin Yi's approval. The first world announcement ever. Boss Lin Yi has ranked up the town so quickly. My castle is still intermediate. Although my castle is a high-ranked castle, it is still a long way from leveling up a town. Boss Lin Yi auctioned his equipment today, and he made a profit, okay. There was nothing strange about ranking up a town. Don't push me upstairs. Don't delay me. I admire Boss Lin Yi. World announcement. When I can get one, then I will die in peace. I'm curious, what reward did Lord Lin Yi receive for being the first to rank up? Usually, rewards accompany online novels and world announcements. It might be divine equipment. In any case, the reward will be very generous. After all, even the world announcement has been released. The chat was very lively. Many castle lords were guessing what kind of reward Lin Yi received. Divine equipment, blueprints, soldier types, and the like were all available. Even some of the top-ranked soldiers stood up and congratulated Lin Yi while expressing their envy. Only Lin Yi felt uncomfortable. He was also wrong. Apart from a world notification, there were no rewards. It even increased the hate value of the Globin's kingdom. There was a feeling of blood loss. However, even if Lin Yi had known this would happen, he would still have ranked up the castle. This was a mission main storyline. It had to be completed without rewards. This world announcement fiasco. It came suddenly and went very suddenly. BL.net. If it was normal, the castle lords would have been discussing this for a long time, but the situation was different. There was still half an hour before midnight. In other words, in half an hour, a new invincible barrier to protect the castle lords would leave everyone. The castle lords would also officially integrate into this cruel world. There was no invincible guard that could be used as a backer for the castle lords. If they wanted to live, they could only risk their life. The protective barrier is about to disappear. I'm very uneasy. Even though I have a higher rank military, I am not prepared to come into contact with this world. Tonight, many of the castle lords will disappear forever. Wan sang. Not to mention this. There were monsters everywhere outside my house. There are many colorful pythons around my castle. My legs were shaking when I thought that they might rush in. The undead has surrounded my castle. Hiss. Don't say any more, I've already pissed my pants. Countless castle lords spoke in the chat. The atmosphere instantly turned melancholy and bleak. From the chat messages, it could be seen that the situation of many castle lords was not very optimistic. There were a large number of monsters gathered at the entrance of their castle. Some low-ranked wild monsters were fine. Even in a berserk state, with the current strength of the castle lord, most of them could handle it. However, if there were high-ranked monsters in the berserk state, such as 7th-ranked, 8th-ranked, or even 9th-ranked, it would be a disaster for the castle lords. Lin Yi had reason to believe. Last night, there was a part of the castle that would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. When the beast tide came, there would be even more eliminated castle lords. It revealed the cruel living environment of the endless continent. The early stages will be difficult. However, as long as we get through the crisis of the early days, the castle lords will quickly become stronger and expand to the extent that the local forces that have taken the initiative to attack the endless continent will step onto the path of hegemony. Lin Yi felt that this was human nature. Even his body was the same. Very few people would be willing to be ordinary. When one holds a powerful power, ambition and desire would naturally follow. This was unavoidable. As time passed, the world chat channel began to wail. Negative energy was constantly being transmitted. Some of the castle lords were even in despair, saying goodbye to everyone in the chat. Some of the castle lords claimed that they would kill their way out of the castle and perish together with the wild monsters in a berserk state. There were also the castle lords waiting for death, hoping to return to Earth after death. But it was clear that this possibility was extremely low. Lin Yi sighed. He then closed the world chat channel. Some people were trying to comfort the castle lord who had lost hope, but it was useless. That was because even if they were lucky enough to survive tonight, there would still be tomorrow night and the day after tomorrow. After all, once night arrived, the wild monsters would gather and attack the castle. Other than that, the beast tide was about to arrive at any time, and the local factions of the endless continent were eyeing them. In short, this world was really cruel. Only the fittest could survive. At this stage, no one could help anyone. Even if he was eliminated, it could only be said that he could not adapt to this cruel world, or rather, that he was unlucky. Lin Yi did not think too much. In less than 20 minutes, it would be past 12. He wanted to build the Holy Temple. During this time, the Holy Temple. Could increase the combat strength of the little angels by 10%. This was very important. Lin Yi had a thought. A blue blueprint appeared in his hand. It was none other than the high-ranked architectural blueprint of the Holy Temple. Chapter 66. Hidden Effects. A new era had arrived. Full invasion. The undead was all here. Battle started. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 66. Hidden Effects. A new era had arrived. Full invasion. The undead was all here. Battle started. Chapter 6. Hidden Effects. A new era had arrived. Full invasion. The undead was all here. Battle started. To build a high-ranked building Holy Temple, 30,000 units of wood, 10,000 units of stone, and 5,000 units of iron were required. For the other castle lords, this was a huge amount of resources. The iron in their hands was especially rare. But to Lin Yi, this amount of resources was nothing. He had upgraded the town and consumed 10,000 units of refined iron, but there were still nearly 19,000 units left. As for wood and stone, one was more than 200,000 units, and one was more than 100,000 units. He could easily build a holy temple. Lin Yi came to a space beside the castle and took out the architectural blueprints. Do you want to build a holy temple at this location? Yes, no, build. Lin Yi naturally chose. Instantly, the blueprint in his hand disappeared. It turned into a dense golden light and enveloped the space he had designated. There was a temple-like building in the golden light. It was gradually changing from an illusion to a real entity. A few minutes later, the dazzling golden light disappeared. A magnificent temple appeared in front of him. The entire temple was in platinum and was emitting a gentle holy light. At the entrance of the palace, there was a statue of an 18-winged female angel standing on each side. This is the Temple of Faith. It represents the Lord's blessing, the glory of an angel. Praise my Lord. The 6-winged angel Catherine, the 6-winged angel Shirley, the angel of love Nina, and many other little angels gathered around. They looked out of thin air. Faith was the meaning of the existence of angels. As for the holy temple, it was the hall of worship. In the eyes of the little angels, the temple was like the majesty of the Lord. It was sacred and could not be blasphemed. Lin Yi's gaze was also focused on this magnificent temple. Advanced Architecture. Holy Temple, Effect 1. Increases loyalty of castle residents to the castle lord, Effect 2. Increases attack and defense of the castle's soldiers. By 10%, Effect 3. Increases the speed at which the castle lord collects power of belief, Concealment Effect 1. As the exclusive building of the Light faction, the Holy Temple. Can increase the friendliness of Light. Type intelligent creatures and increase the chances of Light. Type intelligent creatures taking the initiative to seek refuge, Hiding Effect 2. Increases the hate value of the dark and evil camp. Lin Yi looked surprised. When he identified the blueprints of the temple, there were only 3 effects. However, now that the temple. Had been built, there were 2 special hidden effects. This surprised him. Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected harvest. It's good news to increase the friendliness of Light. Type intelligent creatures and the chance of taking the initiative to join. As for the hatred between darkness and evil, don't bother. Lin Yi did not care about this. His angels were enemies with the dark and evil creatures. They were natural enemies. As for angels, they were best at purifying darkness and evil creatures. Therefore, even if the value of hatred was too high, Lin Yi would not be affected. At most, if they met, they would die. Lin Yi turned his head to look at the little angels gathered behind him. He could vaguely see a faint golden halo on each little angel's body. It was the buff halo from the Holy Temple. It could increase angels' attack and defense by 10%. It was the overall increase in Angel battle team's combat strength. At the same time, Lin Yi also discovered that the second effect of the Temple of Honor was that it increased the attack and defense of the soldiers by 10%. In other words, the buff halo of the Temple of Holiness not only enhanced angels but all the soldiers of the castle. As long as they were the soldiers of his castle, they would be enhanced. Just as Lin Yi had said, Holy Temple. Could be called a late-stage Legion Divine. Class building. Its existence could directly affect the overall strength of the Angel Castle army. It was no exaggeration to say that its value was comparable to a real artifact, or even higher. Lin Yi looked at the warehouse building next to the castle. An information frame appeared in front of him. Castle Warehouse, Capacity. This contains a small dimension. The dimension will increase as the castle level increases. Materials. Wood 26,900 units, stone 113,640 units, iron 13,600 units, monster materials. P.S. Energy stones and crystals stored by Lin Yi in the Ring of Forest Giants, current status. Invincible, special reminder. If the heart of the castle is destroyed, the dimensional space of the warehouse will be destroyed, and all the supplies will be lost, becoming spoils of war for the enemy forces. Please protect your castle heart. There's still a way to go before we can upgrade to an intermediate town. Lin Yi, who had just upgraded his castle into a beginner town, was already thinking about intermediate town. Although there was no reward for upgrading the castle, he was still in a hurry. He was eager to upgrade the castle into a city, a giant city, or even a king's city, to establish an angel dynasty that belonged to him. Once the angel dynasty was established, in the Endless Continent, he could be considered as a firm footing. Unlike now, he could only stay in a corner of the dark forest and struggle. In the future, when the castle lords establish their kingdoms, it will be the true era of hegemony. As for now, it's just a small fight. Lin Yi shook his head. His castle's power had developed very quickly, surpassing billions of castle lords. But he was still not satisfied. He wanted to stand higher and see further. Lord Nina, the angel of love, seemed to be able to sense Lin Yi's uneasy state of mind and softly called out. Lin Yi looked at her and smiled. Nina, the angel of love, who had advanced to the 9th rank, was about 1.3 meters tall, just like Shirley. She stood in the air and slowly flapped the 3 pairs of snow-white angel wings. As an angel, her appearance was impeccable. She was extremely beautiful. Her body was emitting a gentle holy light. Her wings were flapping, and a ray of light was shining. It added to her charm. Looking at her, Lin Yi felt much calmer. As an angel of love, Nina had the temperament to calm her heart. At this moment, above the castle, the protective cover suddenly shook. Its light was no longer as resplendent as before and was gradually fading. Are you going to disappear? Lin Yi opened the World Chat channel and looked at the standard time displayed on the right. There were still 3 minutes before midnight. At this moment, countless people spoke on the World Chat channel. It's almost time. The power of the castle's protective shield is gradually disappearing. Shit. I'm not ready yet. Apart from the castle lord, who else was prepared? If you want to live, then risk your life. Easy to say, there are at least 100 wild monsters outside my castle. Once the protective cover disappears, they will charge in. My castle's soldiers were low-ranking dog-headed men. The weaker ones could not be blocked. Not to mention not being able to resist. If we can't even stop these wild monsters, how can we resist the beast tide? How can we attack the local forces? At the very least, you still have soldiers. My army suffered an accident the day before yesterday, 90% of them were dead or injured. The only way I could do now was to retreat and guard the castle gate, try to rely on the narrow space to prevent wild monsters from entering the castle and destroy the heart of the castle. Brother, hold on. Alas, everyone's situation is not optimistic. It would have been better if it had been daytime, but now it was night. The wild monsters were in a berserk state, and their combat strength was even stronger. Those wild monsters are very strange, as if they can sense that our protective shield is about to disappear. There are already wild monsters attacking the protective cover. Damn it. Brothers and sisters, take care of yourselves. In 3 minutes, I will be ready to kill the wild monsters. I hope we will meet again tomorrow. The World Chat channel quickly fell silent. The battle was about to begin, and no one was in the mood to chat. Lin Yi also turned off the World Chat channel and looked outside the castle. The dense forest was dark and horrifying. In the dense forest, the black shadow was wrong. Countless green eyes were like stars in the night, flickering and disappearing. Like the other castle lords, wild monsters also surrounded his castle. In addition, many wild monsters were hitting the protective cover, as if they knew that the protective cover was about to disappear. The dense forest was trembling. The roar of the monster was like a drum. A feast of slaughter was about to begin. It's the time. The protective cover of the castles began to tremble violently, and the light grew dimmer. Lin Yi did not hesitate. Put on high-grade armor directly. This was a defensive armor made for him by Zhong Yao. Of the underground world. It had a higher grade than the high-ranked equipment that the goblin chief had placed in the treasury. Its defense was extremely strong and could protect his safety. At the same time, a huge sword appeared in his hand. Chapter 67. Hidden Effects. A new era had arrived. Full invasion. The undead was all here. Battle started. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 6. Hidden Effects. A new era had arrived. Full invasion. The undead was all here. Battle started. This giant sword of refined iron was about 1.5 meters long and 60 centimeters wide. Its spine was 13 centimeters thick. It was a real giant sword. It was called Sword of Goblin Chief, and it was a transcendent piece of equipment. In addition to his weapons and armor, Lin Yi also wore a 5 centimeter big ring ring of the forest giant, a king. Magic equipment. This giant ring could be said to be the most advanced equipment. Lin Yi was wearing it. Not only because it was space equipment but also because it could release 3 defensive spells, the Light of Nature's protection. The Light of Nature was high-ranked defensive magic. It could protect him to a great extent. He could even save his life at a critical moment. Everything was ready. Lin Yi pointed at the wild monsters outside the castle and said expressionlessly, "Kill them all." "Yes, my lord." The little angels shouted in unison. 6-winged Archangel Shirley was the first to release her divine spell. Lord says that the angel's faith will turn into a divine armor, indestructible. As she spoke, platinum armor condensed from the power of faith appeared on all the little angels. Lord says that the holy angel flame will turn into a holy sword to help the believers of the Lord overcome evil and darkness. Golden flames emerged. This was the angel's holy flame, a flame used to purify the heretics. Now, angel's holy flame had turned into a holy sword, appearing in the hands of every little angel. Lord said that the light protects us. Believe in the Lord and live forever. 6-winged Archangel Shirley finished her sentence. The little angels raised the holy sword in their hands at the same time. Believe in the Lord and live forever. Then, the little angels flapped their snow-white angel wings and flew out of the castle's protective cover. The angel battle team was led by the 6-winged Archangel, Shirley, the 6-winged angel, Catherine, and Nina. The 3 of them were female angels. 2 of them were 9th ranked, 1 was 8th ranked. They had a lot of angels, battle skills and divine skills. They were extremely strong. It could be said that the wild monsters gathered outside the castle were not invincible to Lin Yi. On the contrary, they were all Lin Yi's hunting targets. The angel battle team had already grown. Even if the protective cover did not disappear, Lin Yi would still send the angel battle team to hunt at night. The dark forest could no longer threaten his little angel. Lord says, the light shines on the world, and the darkness is gone. A dazzling white light fell, accompanied by the clear voice of the six-winged archangel Shirley. In an instant, the forest within a radius of several hundred meters was lit up as if it was daytime. Under the light, all the wild monsters hidden in the dense forest were forced to expose themselves. The camp of the monsters in the wild was in chaos. However, under the influence of the blood moon, they were in a berserk state and did not retreat. At this moment, the miserable howl was heard in the group of monsters. Lin Yi looked up and saw that there were a few undead ghouls. One was 5th ranked elite and 0.3 of them were 4th ranked. Under the illumination of the white light, black smoke rose from their bodies and they rolled on the ground in pain. This was no ordinary light. It was the holy light from the divine arts. It contained divine power, and it was extremely harmful to creatures that belonged to the undead. In addition, the six-winged archangel, Shirley had reached the 9th rank. The power of her magic was even greater, so those 5th ranked ghouls could not withstand it. They fell to the ground and were desperately rolling and struggling. They wanted to get rid of the holy light. But this was meaningless. The holy light always shone on them. Their skin was exposed to the holy light and emitted a sizzling sound and black smoke. Soon, the ghouls stopped struggling. The bodies were completely purified by the holy light, and even their soul fire was extinguished. Undead creatures could be resurrected with the help of soul fire and some special materials. However, facing the angel of Lin Yi, undead creatures were no different from wild monsters. They even died faster. Necromancers have appeared. This is the first time. This was the first time Lin Yi had encountered an undead creature since he descended. Generally speaking, most of the undead appeared in cemeteries and cemeteries. In these places, the aura of a dead spirit was strong, and it was the easiest to produce undead creatures. In addition, the underground world could also be considered the headquarters of the undead. However, the ghost forest was mainly made up of wild monsters like beasts and birds. Most of the local forces were intelligent creatures of the semi-evil and semi-neutral camps, such as gnomes, goblins, and two-headed demons. Undead creatures were not common. It must be related to the Holy Temple. Lin Yi had a guess. The Holy Temple with the friendly values of the light faction creatures increased the chances of actively joining. But at the same time, it would also increase the hatred of dark, evil, and undead creatures. The temple of worship probably attracted the ghouls that suddenly appeared. He didn't expect that the six-winged archangel's magic would purify them. Lin Yi was glad that his castle did not appear at the base camp of the undead. Otherwise, he would be facing an endless army of undead. It seems that undead exists inside the dark forest as well. It's just that the number is much smaller. Lin Yi did not think too much. Because his angel battle team had already started a war with the wild monsters outside the castle. On the battlefield, there were all kinds of magic skills. The wild monsters in a berserk state gathered together and madly attacked the little angels flying in the air. The blood moon affected them and lost their rationality. Even if their companions were killed, they did not show any signs of retreating. One batch died, and another batch surrounded them. One after another. The battle seemed to be extremely intense, but in reality, the little angels were able to handle it with ease. Out of 20.6 little angels, the highest ranked angel was 9th ranked, and the weakest was 5th ranked. In addition to the holy armor, holy sword, angel battle skill, and the suppression of powerful divine techniques. Wild monsters were no match for the angel battle team. Not to mention, under the influence of the halo of the holy temple, the little angels' attack defense had increased by 10%, and they became stronger. These wild monsters in front of them were no more than elite-ranked 6 monsters. Soon, a large number of corpses of wild monsters piled up outside the castle. At this moment, in the sky above the castle, the protective cover that had been shaking for a long time was finally out. It disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the protective cover of the billions of castle lords disappeared. The beginning period ended. A cruel new era had arrived. Roar, 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 the roar of the wild monsters came from all directions. Then, a large number of wild monsters charged into Lin Yi's territory from all directions. His castle territory was 2,000 meters in diameter. With the castle as the center, other than the holy temple, angel rebirth pool, and the castle warehouse, there was a vast expanse around it, and there were no other buildings. Seeing wild monsters charging in from other directions, the little angels retreated to the vicinity of Lin Yi and surrounded the castle to form a defensive circle to block the monsters in the wild. The space around the castle immediately turned into a new battlefield. Lin Yi did not continue to watch the battle. He wielded a supreme weapon, Goblin Chief's sword, wore high-ranked armor, and released high-ranked equipment, Forest Giant's Ring, to release a high-grade defensive spell, the Light of Nature's Protection, to protect himself in all directions. Then, he directly charged into the monster horde. He was looking for monsters below the 5th rank. To kill. Whenever he discovered an elite-ranked monster, he would immediately move his position. He was determined not to clash with elite monsters. Not long after, Lin Yi had personally killed a dozen low-ranked monsters. He raised his hand and dropped his blade. He did not even blink. It could be said that he was completely satisfied. Suddenly, an enormous figure pounced towards him. Just the claw that was slapped down was as big as Lin Yi's body. And he instantly struck Lin Yi. Lin Yi felt as if a terrifying force had struck him, and his body involuntarily flew up. Lord! The little angel was screaming. There was also a dazzling holy light flickering. Chapter 68. Brave Zhongyao. Saint Sanctions. Army Skill. Slaughter. Victory. A bumper harvest. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 68. Brave Zhongyao. Saint Sanctions. Army Skill. Slaughter. Victory. A bumper harvest. In the underground world, wild monsters also invaded the Grey Dwarf Castle. Kill. Protect the castle, protect the glory of the dwarves. Kill all these underground creatures and protect Zhongyao. Under the leadership of the dwarf Uncle Xavier, more than 200 grey dwarves gathered near the castle's fence to fight the wild monsters that wanted to attack the castle. The dwarves belonged to the lower ranks. The initial stage was very low, and the growth limit was not high. However, Zhongyao dwarves were all wearing armor and weapons. They were fully armed, and their combat strength was not weak. On top of that, the dwarf Xavier was a peak 9th ranked warrior. He was a sky swordsman of the dwarves, and the 100 or so dwarves he had brought with him were all elite dwarves. In addition, there was a defensive building fence guarding it. Therefore, it was almost impossible for the wild monsters to break through the castle of Grey Dwarf that was protected in the center. Uncle Xavier, be careful. Zhongyao stood on the balcony on the 4th floor of the Grey Dwarf Castle. Her strength was too weak. She was only 3rd ranked, and she was not good at fighting. Her real combat strength might not be as strong as a 1st ranked wild monster. She could only stay in the safe zone. Zhongyao gritted her teeth. She tried his best not to tremble. Her face was pale. She was afraid and wanted to hide in the castle. She hid under the covers or the bed. The red-eyed wild monsters did not notice her. However, she did not. She insisted on appearing on the balcony and shouted, letting the dwarves on the battlefield know that she did not retreat. Although she was young, she was brave. The morale of the dwarves was greatly boosted. Led by Xavier, a dwarf at the peak of the 9th rank, he killed wild monsters. At this moment, their loyalty had already exceeded 90 points. For Zhong Yao, nothing could make them retreat. Even if the black dragon attacked, they would still dare to fight it. As the killing continued, the monsters outside the castle were finally gradually decreasing. Of course, some of the grey dwarves died in battle, and even their bodies were torn to pieces by the wild monsters. However, the grey dwarves did not retreat. Loyalty is faith. They were willing to sacrifice their lives for the castle of grey dwarfs. On the balcony, Zhong Yao's large eyes were filled with tears, and the cute porcelain doll's face was also grey and white. She gathered her courage and took a low-ranked bow from the warehouse. She clumsily placed the iron arrow on the bowstring. The bow and arrow were pulled into a full moon shape. She lacked combat experience and strength, but she was still a 3rd-ranked life form. She still had strength. She aimed at a wild monster. Gritting her teeth, she shot out. Puff. The iron arrow pierced into the ground, empty. Zhong Yao did not give up. She drew her bow again and again. Her face turned red. Finally, she succeeded. She shot an arrow at a table-sized dark spider. She shouted excitedly, "I can also kill monsters. Long live Queen Zhong Yao." The dwarves on the battlefield were also cheering as if they saw the dawn of victory. On the endless prairie, hundreds and thousands of grassland monsters were attacking the castle, capital of gold. Feng Qing was dressed in a high-ranked suit, leading dozens of top-ranked soldiers, the Golden War Lion, to kill the monsters. She had long hair coiled up and held a large sword in her hand. With a wave, the beast's blood flew. The armor was covered in blood, but she was unmoved. Like a female martial god, she was valiant. She led the Golden War Lion Corps and charged around to kill the monsters. Everywhere she passed were the corpses of monsters. Somewhere in a valley, the bang sound kept ringing. Looking up, there was a large group of wild monsters attacking the castle in the center of the valley. The owner of the castle commanded more than 60 dwarf firemen to form a circle to block the attacks of the wild monsters. The sound of the flintlock continued. The smell of the black fire medicine permeated the valley. One wild monster fell in a pool of blood. There were also elite-rank wild monsters that rushed forward and tore the nearby dwarfs' flintlocks into pieces. The battle was extremely miserable. Somewhere in the swamp, a lonely castle stood. The castle was surrounded by corpses. There were corpses of monsters in the wild, as well as corpses of soldiers in the castle. The battle was not over yet. However, the swamp monsters had the absolute advantage. They had already entered the castle territory, massacred the soldiers of the castle one after another, and finally rushed into the castle. A terrifying scream accompanied it. The owner of the castle was torn to pieces. Not long after, the swamp monster broke the castle's heart. This magnificent middle-ranked castle collapsed and turned into ruins. The swamp monster was like a swarm of fish, scattering in all directions and disappearing into the swamp. In a corner of the dark forest, a youth stood on the balcony. He commanded his top-ranked army, the stone giants, to slaughter all directions. Dozens of stone giants swept past, and the wild monsters fell one after another. Almost invincible. Too weak. There aren't many elite monsters. What's wrong with this forest? This level of battle is no pressure on my rock giant core. The young man shook his head and sighed. He had originally thought that once the protective barrier disappeared, a large number of wild monsters would attack his castle, and the situation would be difficult. Unexpectedly, they were all low-ranked monsters. There were only 3 or 4 elite-ranked monsters, so there was no pressure at all. It seems that it will still take a beast tide to give me a great harvest. The young man gazed at the blood moon in the sky, looking forward to the arrival of the beast tide. In the endless continent, wild monsters surrounded billions of castle lords. Some of the castle lords looked down on the crowd, leading powerful troops to counterattack the wild monsters and slaughter them in all directions. Some of the castle lords struggled to defend themselves, and their soldiers suffered heavy losses. Some of the castle lords had already turned into corpses under the claws of monsters. The castle had turned into ruins and disappeared in the memories of others. Every castle lord was experiencing war. They cheered for victory and begged for mercy in despair, or died miserably on the battlefield. Disagreement. The endless continent had finally revealed its cruel corner to the castle lords. Life or death. It all depended on whether or not the castle lord could adapt. In the angel castle in the dark forest, the monsters in the wild were bigger and stronger. There were countless elite-ranked monsters. Sometimes, a few commander-ranked monsters would appear. It had to be said that this was due to luck. Of course, if Lin Yi were to speculate, he would think that this had something to do with Angel Castle upgrading to a town. After all, Angel Castle's influence and reputation in the dark forest had reached a level of minor fame. The famous Angel Castle attracted the attention of not only the local forces but also the wild monsters in the nearby jungle. In this dark forest, Lin Yi's Angel Castle was a shining white light, and it was very eye-catching. On the battlefield, Lin Yi's body flew more than 10 meters in the air. But he did not fall to the ground. Instead, he flipped backward and landed firmly. He raised his eyes to look at the enemy who had ambushed him. It was the 8th-ranked tiger monster. Its tiger body was over 10 meters long. It was extremely terrifying, like an ancient berserk beast. During the operation, the ground seemed to be trembling. The 8th-ranked black tiger commander also stared at Lin Yi. His blood-red eyes were filled with violence, bloodthirsty, and madness. Under the influence of Blood Moon, even 8th-ranked monsters lost their mind. At this moment, a golden sword fell from the sky, piercing through the body of an 8th-ranked black tiger commander and pinning it to the ground. This was the angel battle skill from the 6th-winged archangel, Shirley. With Shirley's 9th-ranked strength, it was not difficult to kill an 8th-ranked black tiger commander. Even at the same rank, Shirley could still win. This was the suppression of the high-ranked cells against the low-ranked cells. My lord, Shirley flew to Lin Yi's side. Protecting the master was the angel's mission. The other little angels were also slowly shrinking the circle and were protecting Lin Yi. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "I have nothing to do, go do what you want and end this battle as soon as possible." He didn't have a good face, he wasn't hurt. It was the same even after being slapped by the 8th-ranked black tiger commander. The moment he was hit, 6th-winged archangel Shirley threw a holy shield at him. Moreover, there was high-ranked defensive magic, nature's blessing light to protect him. Even when facing a 9th-ranked monster lord, he would have to be attacked several times before nature's blessing light's magic power would be exhausted. As for the 9th-ranked monster lord, his 3 6th-winged angels had killed it. "Yes, my lord." Shirley complied respectfully. With the holy sword in hand, he continued to kill the monsters in the open space. However, she was not too far away from Lin Yi. The furthest distance was only less than 200 meters. If anything happened to Lin Yi, she could provide timely support. At this moment, a slightly cold voice sounded in the air. It was the angel of love Nina. She stood in mid-air, 3 pairs of her snow-white angel wings spread out, radiating holy light. "Lord, give life to the world should be grateful. Betrayal, blasphemy, slander, they will all be punished." Instantly, Nina, the angel of love, released a dazzling holy light. It was like a blazing sun shining on the battlefield. In an instant, a large number of wild monsters fell to the ground and howled in pain. Chapter 69. Brave Zhongyao. Saint Sanctions. Army Skill. Slaughter. Victory. A Bumper Harvest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Brave Zhongyao. Saint Sanctions. Army Skill. Slaughter. Victory. A Bumper Harvest. This was a divine technique, holy punishment. It was not a physical attack, but a spiritual attack that touched the soul. The divine power struck straight at the soul. Blood Moon affected the wild monsters and they lost their rationality. They fell into a berserk state, but their souls were still clear. When they were hit.by the wound, they released a signal of intense pain. Few wild monsters could withstand the pain of their souls. Most of the wild monsters that were enveloped by the holy light were screaming on the ground. Seeing this, the nearby little angels quickly flew over. Facing the wild monsters that had lost the ability to resist, the little angels did not show any mercy. They waved their holy swords and killed them. Suddenly, the battlefield was empty. However, there were too many wild monsters attacking Angel Castle. There were at least 1,000 of them. They were not afraid of death. Once a batch died, another batch rushed forward. It was as if they were willing to destroy the Angel Castle. At this moment, the six-winged angel Catherine suddenly raised her scepter and solemnly recited the divine language. Master says that the world is ignorant and should be taught. The people of the world were cruel and should be punished, the dirty body will be purified, and the pure soul will be saved. Holy angel, the sword of the Lord. Divine judgment, just and impartial. Lord's majesty, cannot be blasphemed. Holy sanction. With that, the six-winged angel, Catherine, shone with golden light. Each golden light condensed into a golden sword. The golden sword was both intangible and tangible. On the sword, there was the figure of an 18-winged angel. She crossed her arms and lowered her head as if she was praying to the Lord. In an instant, 10,000 golden swords fell from the sky. It enveloped the entire battlefield like a rain of swords. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The angels' holy swords fell. Instantly, the wild monsters on the battlefield collapsed into pools of blood. Not only ordinary monsters but even those elite-ranked monsters were also turned into hedgehogs. They couldn't block it, nor could they avoid it. For a moment, hundreds of monsters died on the battlefield. Some of the wild monsters were lucky enough to survive and looked at the miserable state around them. Even though they were still in a berserk state, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Holy sanctions. Catherine, the six-winged angel, wielded a powerful divine technique. This was a legion technique. Super. Large range attack divine skill. It was also because Catherine's rank wasn't that high. She was only at the 8th rank, so her range wasn't that big. If Catherine were to become a true god and reach the peak of her full body growth, then this single saint sanctions would be enough to destroy the entire dark forest. Hundreds of millions of holy swords would fall, and the dark forest would be wiped off the map. This was the legion technique. At the moment, among all the little angels under Lin Yi's command, only Catherine was the six-winged angel of power who was able to release it, because it was a divine arts regiment skill that belonged exclusively to the angel of power, Lord Angel, and the blazing angel. Light forever. Lord's glory envelopes the whole world. Only by believing in the Lord can you live forever. The six-winged angel, Catherine, wielded her power and pointed at the battlefield. Kill. In an instant, the little angels returned to the battlefield, brandishing their holy swords to wipe out the wild monsters that were still alive on the battlefield. At the same time, the angel of love, Nina, flew over. A great healing spell enveloped the six-winged angel Catherine. Soon, Catherine's slightly trembling angel body calmed down. The almost exhausted divine power in her body was rapidly recovering. Catherine nodded at Nina to express her gratitude. Nina, the angel of love, responded with a gentle smile that seemed to be able to contain everything. Then, she entered the battlefield again. Angel, you're worthy of being a sacred creature, a superior soldier. Not to mention these ordinary wild monsters, even a top-ranked dragon army can't stop them. A divine arts regiment skill instantly killed hundreds of wild monsters. Low-ranked, elite, commander. No one was able to contend against it, and the holy sword pierced all of them. This was a real killing technique. Even Lin Yi felt her scalp go numb. However, he was still more excited. The stronger the angel, the more powerful his castle was. As time passed, the little angels killed more and more wild monsters. The monsters surrounding Angel Castle finally showed signs of exhaustion. The living monsters roared. They were rather unwilling. No matter how they charged, they could not break through the small angel's defensive circle. Instead, they were massacred one after another, with heavy casualties. Finally, ordinary low-ranked monsters were dead. The elite monsters were all dead. There were only a few commander-ranked monsters left. The blood moon affected them. They were berserk and fearless. And their goal was very clear, that was to rush into the castle. It was as if something was stimulating them in the castle, making them furious. They desperately wanted to enter until the castle was destroyed. However, in the end, a few commander-ranked monsters still fell on the battlefield. The little angels using angel battle skills and divine skills killed them. It's over. Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, a dazzling golden light appeared again. It wasn't just him. Other than Nina, the angel of love, and Shirley, the six-winged archangel, who had just advanced to the 9th rank, their little angels were all shrouded in golden light. This was a sign of advancement. After a long time, the golden light finally dispersed. Lin Yi went from the 6th rank to the peak of the 7th rank. He was only a step away from an 8th rank. Some of the little angels had advanced to the 1st rank, and some had even advanced to the 2nd rank. The increase was huge. 26 little angels were under him. There were 3 of them. 6-winged archangel Shirley, peak 9th rank, angel of love Nina, peak 9th rank, and 6-winged angel Catherine, mid-9th rank. There were 10 8th-ranked angels. They were Seal, Todd, Victor, and the others. The remaining 13 little angels had all reached the 7th rank. In other words, Angel Battle Team's lowest combat strength was the 7th rank. The overall strength could be said to have soared. Even if the king-ranked Fire Dragon attacked, Lin Yi was not afraid. The Angel Battle Team could not only fight, but they also had a high probability of slaying dragons. Angel Rebirth Pool has risen to the 3rd rank. Every time it will give birth, it will be able to give birth to 10 angels and holy spirits. Lin Yi had already seen the dawn of the Angel Corps. He was in a good mood. At this moment, Lin Yi turned to look at the forest in the distance. The dense forest had calmed down. There were no swaying trees, no monster roars, and no green starlight. He felt that at least there would not be any wild monsters coming to die tonight. Lin Yi roughly counted the corpses of the monsters on the battlefield. There were about 1,800 of them. There were only about 10 commander-ranked wild monsters and over 300 elite-ranked monsters. If it was the other castle lords, they would have been captured long ago. The castle would raise to the ground and turn into ruins. Only his angel battle team could withstand such an attack. Even from beginning to end, the wild monsters were not able to get within 100 meters of the castle and were all blocked on the battlefield 100 meters away. The pile of monster corpses surrounded his castle in the shape of a ring. Piercing blood flowed on the ground. An owl was howling in the distant forest, but it did not dare to approach. Blood Moon tilted west. The dark forest became even quieter. The first night of the novice protection period was about to pass. Billions of castle lords had finally witnessed the cruelty of the endless continent at night, but as long as the night passed and the blood moon fell, the first ray of dawn would bring hope. Lin Yi opened his friend list and contacted Zhong Yao, who was in the underground world. Zhong Yao, how is your situation? Lin Yi had never been to the underground world and was not familiar with the world ruled by dark creatures. He had only heard Zhong Yao's explanation. The underground world seemed even crueler as compared to the surface world. There were countless dark creatures, groups of undead creatures. That was the paradise of the evil race. Zhong Yao received Lin Yi's message and quickly replied, Lin Yi, I have successfully blocked the wild monsters. Uncle Xavier and the others are cleaning up the battlefield. The castle is safe and sound, but many of the grey dwarves have died, Lin Yi said, it's normal to die in battle until the castle is fine. How could there be undying soldiers in war? Even his little angels had almost died in the battle just now. Luckily, Nina and Shirley were able to protect them with their divine spells. Of course, death was not a big deal for angels. Because angels could be resurrected. As long as Angel's heart was placed in the angel rebirth pool, the angel could be reborn. After chatting with Zhong Yao and encouraging her, Lin Yi turned off his friend's information. It was already 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, he was so sleepy. However, he did not rest. The monster corpses on the ground were still waiting for him to deal with. There was a strong smell of blood in the air, but Lin Yi wasn't worried about attracting wild monsters. He just didn't want the corpses to rot. He had to collect and decompose them into food and monster materials to store them in the castle's warehouse. The little angels were also cleaning up the battlefield. He collected the energy stones, crystals, and blueprints from the wild monsters. Lin Yi had gained a lot from this battle. The first was to harvest a large number of energy stones. Next were the crystals and blueprints. After all, there were 9 commander-ranked monsters and more than 300 elite-ranked monsters invading Angel Castle. It was normal for a bumper harvest to be true. Soon, the spoils of war were handed over to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's breathing began to quicken. Chapter 70. 3 Blueprints. 7 Days of Creation. A lively storm. Their mentality exploded. Embryon Angel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Blueprints. 7 Days of Creation. A lively storm. Their mentality exploded. Embryon Angel. It's a bumper harvest. It was until about 4 o'clock a.m. Lin Yi practically stayed up all night and was extremely sleepy. However, as he looked at the spoils of war piled up in front of him, his sleepiness and exhaustion disappeared without a trace. The spoils of war were divided into 3 categories: energy stones, crystals, and blueprints. As for the equipment, there was nothing. However, Lin Yi was not disappointed, because he had already prepared himself mentally. Wild monsters had never dropped equipment before. Only through killing indigenous intelligent creatures could drop equipment. At this moment, Lin Yi's heart was filled with excitement. Because the rewards were too great. Nearly 1,000 energy stones alone had dropped. Energy stones were required to rank up a military building. His angelic rebirth pool was currently 3rd rank, and it required 5,000 energy stones and 50 crystals to reach 4th rank. That was to say that in this battle alone, his angel rebirth pool leveled up by almost 1.5. I stored 1,200 energy stones. In addition to this harvest, the energy stone reserve has reached 2,240. It's only about half of the 5,000 energy stones required to rank up. This was a huge breakthrough. Lin Yi had originally thought that it would take at least 10 days and half a month for the Angel Rebirth pool to rank up. However, it seemed that the progress had exceeded his imagination. There would be another 2 or 3 battles of this scale. His energy stone reserves could be able to meet the requirements for Angel Rebirth pool to rank up. In addition to the great harvest of energy stones, I've also gained quite a bit. 14 of them. 14 crystals, plus the 7 crystals he had previously stored, the total number reached 21. Angel Rebirth pool required 50 crystals to reach the 4th rank. It was not too far away from meeting the ranking up requirements. However, to be honest, this rate was not enough to satisfy Lin Yi. One must know that the angel team under his command had gained a crystal when they killed the first elite ranked monster. In this battle between the castle guards, more than 300 elite ranked monsters were participating in the battle. There were also 9 7th ranked and 8th ranked commander monsters and 1 9th ranked monster lord. In the end, only 14 crystals dropped. It was not ideal. Could it be that the explosion rate had decreased because the strength of the little angels had increased? Lin Yi could only think so. Otherwise, there was no other explanation. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi opened his friend list and contacted Zhong Yao who was in the underground world. Lin Yi said, "Zhong Yao, how many crystals did you get? Let me count." "I got 7 crystals." Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief. This meant that his luck value was still online. Just as he was about to turn off his friend's message, he mysteriously asked, "How many elite and commander ranked wild monsters were there on your side?" "There's more than that, there seem to be more than 20 elite ranked monsters and 3 commander ranked monsters. If it were not for Uncle Xavier, my castle would not have been able to stop them. Boss Lin Yi, those monsters were too terrifying." "It's fine. It's all gone. Get an early night's rest." Lin Yi silently turned off his friend's message. He was silent for a long time. In the end, the negative energy in his heart turned into a long sigh. Indeed, compared to Zhong Yao of the underground world, even he had to stand aside. His angel battle team had killed so many elite ranked, commander ranked, and even master ranked monsters. In the end, they only dropped 14 crystals. On the other hand, the number of monsters that Zhong Yao had killed was less than 1/10 of his. However, they had dropped 7 crystals. The blessing of the goddess of luck. This luck was so strong that it was unreasonable. Lin Yi did not ask how many blueprints Zhong Yao got. He was afraid of being hit. He had obtained 3 blueprints himself. If it was before, he would have been happy and satisfied. But now, Lin Yi kept feeling that his efforts were not proportional to his gains. He shook his head and stopped thinking. Then, he picked up the 3 blueprints and identified them one by one. "Found an unknown blueprint, do you want to identify it?" "Yes, no, identification." 3 appraisal lights appeared in succession, enveloping the 3 blueprints in his hands. Within a short time, the light of identification disappeared. The 3 blueprints all revealed their true appearance. Low-ranked, architectural blueprints. Residential buildings, available times. 30, effect. Slightly increases loyalty of castle residents, construction requirements. 1,000 units of wood, 500 units of stone, intermediate construction blueprints. House of Nobles, available times. 5, effect 1. Increase loyalty of castle residents, effect 2. Increases the chance of local intelligent creatures taking the initiative to seek refuge, construction requirements. 3,000 units of wood, 1,000 units of stone, 100 units of refined iron, intermediate construction blueprints. Wall, effect 1. Greatly increase the loyalty of the castle residents, appease the people, effect 2. Enhance castle defense, construction requirements. 10,000 units of stone, 5,000 units of refined iron. He looked at the 3 blueprints in his hand. Lin Yi felt a little numb. Not one of the 3 blueprints was a high-ranked blueprint. Even if there was a low-ranked bloodline evolution blueprint, it would be fine. In the end, all 3 of them were basic building blueprints of the castle. 1 low-ranked and 2 medium-ranked blueprints. The 3 architectural blueprints had a common effect, which was to increase the loyalty of the castle residents. This was very useful to the other castle lords. But to Lin Yi, it could only be said to be dispensable. This was because his soldier angel's loyalty to him was constant at 100 points. He was in a state of loyalty and fanaticism. He could not descend or rise. 100 loyalty points were already the highest value. I can only say it. Yes, better than none. Lin Yi did not intend to sell these blueprints. Although he believed that these 3 blueprints could be sold for a large price. His castle had a territory of 5,000 meters, and his direct territory was 2,000 meters. With the castle as the center, the area within a radius of 2 kilometers was a space. There were no trees and nothing to block it. Houses and noble houses could be built. It made his territory look less empty. The wall was also needed, and it was crucial. He could form a circle around his territory and stop the wild monsters from attacking the castle. The wall was much better than the fence that Zhong Yao had just dropped. After all, one was a stone wall, and the other was a wooden fence. With houses, noble houses, and walls, his angel town was truly a town. There was only a castle, a warehouse, and a holy temple. How could one tell that it was a town? Basic buildings seem to be useless to me. But it also has to be there. This is the basic infrastructure of the territory. It is indispensable. In the future, his angel city would be magnificent. Countless angels were living in the city. If there was only a bare castle, what would it look like? Lin Yi took out a blueprint. He was the first to build a wall. With the disappearance of 10,000 units of stone and 5,000 units of iron. A wall about 5 meters tall and 1.4 meters wide appeared in the golden light, completely enveloping his territory. It was a wall, not a city wall. If an ordinary elite monster wanted to destroy it, it would be very difficult to enter the castle's territory. Its defensive ability was far stronger than the fence. The appearance of the wall made Lin Yi feel a sense of security. A specific environment caused this. It had nothing to do with whether the angel battle team could protect him. It was a different mindset for a person to face an empty flat land and a world surrounded by a 5-meter high wall. Then, Lin Yi started to build houses and nobles' courtyards in the open space. The residential blueprints could be used 30 times, which meant that 30 residential buildings could be built. The noble house could be used 5 times. Soon, a large amount of golden light appeared. In the open space near the castle, noble houses appeared one after another. The arrangement was not messy, but rather well proportioned. Lin Yi had also specially set aside a space for this to become a street. The noble house that occupied thousands of square meters was tall and beautiful as compared to simple and crude houses. Even Lin Yi was tempted and wanted to stay there for a few days. But he only thought about it. The house of nobles was not of the same rank as his castle. Lin Yi said to the little angels beside him, "The courtyard and houses have already been built, you can distribute them yourself." "Praise you, Almighty Lord." The little angels bowed respectfully. As for the living environment, the little angels did not have any requirements. They did not even need this kind of thing. There was no need to sleep. At night, they would circle the 18-winged angel statue in the angel rebirth pool and pray all night long until the first ray of dawn appeared. The main content of their prayers was the divine record of the almighty seventh day of creation.